My ex said our son wasn't mine after 12 years, but I uncovered her fake paternity scam to fund her new man's business. This is kind of urgent, so I'll just dive right in. I'm a 40-year-old guy, and I was married to Megan, who's 38, for nearly 12 years, though now she's about to be my ex. We have a 14-year-old son named Johnny. Or at least, I thought he was my son all this time. Megan and I first met through work, and after just a year of dating, she told me she was pregnant. Honestly, I was hesitant. We were still figuring things out as a couple, but she was determined to go through with it. So I stepped up. We moved in together and started preparing for the baby. When Johnny was born, I didn't even consider getting a paternity test. Megan and I were in love, and I had zero doubts he was mine. We bonded fast, and since he had my same dark hair and eyes, everything felt natural. I never had a reason to question anything. But then, a couple of months ago, my whole world flipped upside down. Turns out Johnny isn't biologically mine. Megan had been lying to me for years. Around 3 months back, she finally admitted she'd been cheating on me with her old high school boyfriend, Nathan, who's also 38. She told me this wasn't even new. She'd hooked up with him briefly at the very start of our relationship too, but kept it hidden. Right after that fling, she found out she was pregnant, and chose to stay quiet. Back in the day, Megan and Nathan broke up because he wasn't going anywhere in life. He skipped college, bounced between jobs, and still lived with his parents. Megan wanted stability, and that's why she chose me. She told me that being with me felt like betting on a winning horse. But now, she's changed her mind. Said she realized money wasn't everything and that her heart still belonged to Nathan. Apparently, he's turned his life around, owns a business now, so she doesn't have to worry about financial stuff anymore. They reconnected at their high school reunion about 6 months ago, and that old flame turned into something serious again. She also confessed she had done a paternity test right after Johnny was born and knew all along that he wasn't mine. But since I was thrilled to be a dad, she decided not to say anything. She told Nathan to stay out of our lives too, for the sake of keeping her happy home. And he did. Until now. After her confession, she packed up her stuff and left. But Johnny didn't go with her. She'd already told him everything before I even got back from work that day, without warning me or preparing him. So there we were, Johnny and I, two heartbroken messes trying to comfort each other while our lives shattered around us. No matter what the DNA says, Johnny is my son. I raised him. I loved him. That doesn't change. So I made it clear I was going to fight for joint custody. Neither Megan nor Nathan could erase what Johnny and I have. The same day I found out the truth, I contacted my lawyer and filed for divorce. My demands were straightforward. I would keep everything we'd built, and she wasn't getting a dime in alimony. Megan had been a stay-at-home mom for 14 years, ever since Johnny was born, and despite everything I gave her, financially and emotionally, she still betrayed me. Unsurprisingly, she didn't agree to those terms. She contested the divorce, demanded alimony, and even asked for a huge settlement. I was prepared to fight that. But then she made things worse. 3 weeks ago, she blindsided me by filing for full custody. Apparently, she and Nathan were planning to move to a different city to expand his business, and they wanted to bring Johnny along. She was willing to let me have visitation, but she wanted to be the primary parent just so she could play house with Nathan like nothing ever happened. I wasn't going to stand for that. Since we couldn't settle things through mediation, we had to go to family court. At first, I figured this would be a simple case. But they started making up all kinds of lies about me, painting me as some unfit father, and it became clear I'd have to fight tooth and nail to defend myself. Even though Johnny clearly said he wanted to stay here, this is his home, they tried to claim I was manipulating him. They argued that I worked too much to take care of him properly, and since I'm not his biological dad, I shouldn't have the final say. Before court, we had a casual agreement. Johnny would spend Monday through Thursday with them and then come stay with me for the weekends. I assumed we'd stick with that. But everything changed when they suddenly decided to move and filed for full custody. That's when the real battle began. Then came a moment in court I'll never forget. It was the first time Johnny actually spoke up during the proceedings. He repeated that he still wanted to live with me, not just because he's rooted here, but also because the night before, he overheard Megan and Nathan talking to their lawyer on the phone. And what he heard, it was damning. They were planning to lie even more in court, far worse lies than they'd already made up, and Johnny came right out and said so in front of everyone. Up until that point, Megan and Nathan had mostly just been accusing me of being a workaholic. They claimed I was always too busy with my job to spend real time with Johnny, that even when I was home, I'd lock myself in my office or stay glued to my laptop for endless meetings, sometimes even on weekends. They also said I never showed any interest in Johnny's school life, skipped every parent-teacher conference since he was born, and left all the parenting to Megan because I supposedly found it too boring. Honestly, those accusations were easy to shoot down. But apparently Johnny overheard something much worse. The night before the court hearing, while he was still staying at their place, he caught Megan and Nathan talking on the phone with their lawyer. They were planning to go even further, to claim that I was physically abusive. They were going to lie and say I'd hit Johnny and screamed at him over minor things just to paint me as unfit. Johnny told the court he was too scared to talk about that part in front of me, but he knew he had to speak up before they could spin the narrative and try to get emergency custody. He figured if he didn't say anything, they'd twist the truth and maybe even convince him over time that I was the bad guy. He said outright in court that I had never laid a hand on him or mistreated him in any way. If anything, it was Megan and Nathan who were causing emotional harm by dragging him into this toxic mess and using him like a bargaining chip just to punish me because Megan knew she wasn't getting a dime from the divorce. She thought Johnny's custody could be her leverage to force me into a settlement. And Johnny had overheard her telling Nathan that once they got the money, she'd invest in his business and help expand it. They were so giddy about it, they didn't even bother keeping their voices down. The problem was, they forgot Johnny was still in the house. He was standing just outside their bedroom door when he heard everything. After he revealed all this in court, the room basically exploded. Nobody knew how to handle what he just said. The hearing had to be adjourned early because the lawyers started yelling over each other. I won't lie, I felt a weird sense of satisfaction. I glanced over at Megan, and she looked like she was about to rip her hair out. Her head was buried in her hands, and she just sat there, completely wrecked. That moment alone told me everything I needed to know. Johnny was telling the truth, and she knew she was caught. As we were getting ready to leave the courthouse, Johnny walked up to me and said he wanted to come home with me instead of going back with her. We started heading toward the car, but Megan stormed after us. She grabbed Johnny by the arm and started shaking him, demanding to know why he'd said what he did. She was yelling at him for ruining his chance to live with her and Nathan. That was the moment I snapped. I stepped between them and pushed her back, not hard, just enough to get her off him. My lawyer, thank God, recorded the whole thing. You better believe we're going to use that in court. I told her to back off and that this was all on her. She brought this on herself by being manipulative and selfish. I was proud of Johnny for speaking up, for not turning into a coward like his mother who only cared about money and appearances. I was already furious, especially after what came out during the hearing. But then Nathan jumped in, shouting at us that Megan had given so much to our family and deserved the chance to finally be happy with him. I didn't even bother replying, I just rolled my eyes and turned back toward the car. But Megan wasn't done. She clung to Johnny's arm and told me I had no right to take him home. According to her, I was brainwashing him and poisoning him against her. She swore that from now on, she wouldn't just fight for full custody, she'd try to cut off my visitation completely. All because I'd supposedly turned her son against her. Coming from someone who had just been exposed as a liar, that threat felt ridiculous. She was clearly panicking. I warned her to let go of Johnny or I'd call the police. She snapped back that she was his mother, so she had every right to decide where he went. Johnny kept trying to pull away, but she had a tight grip on him. Finally, he'd had enough. He's a solid, strong kid for his age, athletic build, definitely bigger than Megan. And she's tiny, not very strong. So, he pushed her back pretty hard and jumped into the car, slamming the door behind him. Megan started screaming like a banshee, accusing me of teaching her son to assault her and saying she'd press charges. But come on. He didn't attack her, he was just trying to get away. Nathan was right there and caught her before she could even hit the ground. So really, no one got hurt. Still, they wouldn't let it go. They stood in front of my car, yelling that I was encouraging violence and wasn't fit to be a father. I laid on the horn until it practically died out before they finally moved and let us leave. It's been a couple of days since that whole scene, and honestly, I'm still torn. Johnny seems completely fine, but I keep replaying it in my head. He definitely shoved Megan pretty hard. I don't want him thinking that kind of behavior is okay to use on anyone else down the line. But under the circumstances, I feel like he did what he had to do. Still, I can't help but wonder, was Megan actually right about something? Johnny has had some trouble with his temper in the past. Update 1, a few of you asked what I meant when I said Johnny had a history with violence. Well, a few months back, he was having serious issues with bullying at school and he never told us about it. A while back, we got a call from Johnny's school saying he'd been in a fight and was slightly hurt, but the other kid had it worse. Apparently, that kid had been bullying Johnny for weeks. Johnny kept his cool at first, but things escalated. The kid started cursing at our family and even vandalized Johnny's locker with insults. Johnny told him to knock it off several times, but the guy didn't stop. Eventually, Johnny snapped and punched him in the hallway. Naturally, I told Johnny that violence isn't how we solve problems. I didn't want him becoming the kind of kid who throws punches. But deep down, I was proud of him for finally standing up for himself. He doesn't go looking for trouble, he only reacts when he's pushed too far. That moment reminded me that even what happened with Megan wasn't him being violent, it was him trying to break free. Megan twisted it to her advantage, but I know my kid. He wasn't trying to hurt her. He was just trying to protect himself. Now, it's been about a week since that courthouse mess, and tomorrow we're heading back to finalize the divorce and, hopefully, settle the custody case once and for all. After Johnny's reveal in court, I honestly doubt Megan and Nathan have a leg to stand on anymore. My lawyer and I have pulled together every shred of evidence to show that I've always been there for Johnny. But what matters most is Johnny's voice, what he wants. And he's been crystal clear, he doesn't want to live with his mother. It's not just about staying in his hometown, it's because he knows who she really is now, and he doesn't trust her or Nathan to raise him right. And honestly, we don't need more people like them influencing who he becomes. A couple hours ago, Johnny and I had a talk. He admitted he was nervous. Tomorrow will be the first time he sees Megan since that day in the parking lot when he shoved her off. He said he's trying not to care what she thinks, but it's tough. She's still his mom, and we were a family for a long time. That kind of history doesn't just vanish. He also told me he's terrified. Terrified that by some legal fluke, he might end up being forced to go live with Megan and Nathan. I promised him that wouldn't happen. I told him I'd fight in every court on this planet before I let that happen. He's my son, end of story. DNA doesn't change that. If I say he's mine, then he's mine. That seemed to calm him a bit, but I can tell this whole ordeal is taking a toll on him. And truthfully, if we win, I don't know what comes next. Megan is most likely going to leave town with Nathan, and knowing her, if she doesn't get custody, she'll probably never look back. That scares me. I don't want Johnny to grow up without a relationship with his mother, only to resent me later. But I also can't let her keep hurting him. We're heading out soon, and maybe tomorrow won't be the final verdict, but I really hope it is. For both of us. Update 2, something strange happened just a bit ago. It's almost 4 a.m. now. I was asleep, but about an hour ago the doorbell rang. When I opened the door, no one was there, just a plain brown envelope on the doorstep. I checked the security footage, and whoever left it was dressed in black, hood pulled tight, and moved fast. I couldn't make out their face, but they were taller than Megan and too bulky to be her. I doubt it was Nathan either. But what was inside the envelope completely threw me. It was a paternity test result and it said Johnny is my biological son. Here's the crazy part, it came from the same lab we used months ago. Back then, Megan told me Johnny wasn't mine, and I got tested 3 times to be sure. Each result said the same thing, no match. That's what finally convinced me to accept it. But now I'm holding a new result that says we are a match. I'm stunned. I don't know what to believe. Was someone trying to mess with my head right before the custody hearing? Or is it possible Megan and Nathan faked the original results? I tried calling the lab, but of course, it's too early. First thing tomorrow, I'm heading there to figure this out. I already spoke to my lawyer, we're going to get to the bottom of this. And I'm not telling Megan a word. Not until I know the truth. I have a feeling I'm going to get answers when I see her. Update 3 so today was, a lot. I went to the lab with Johnny and my lawyer, ready to ask some serious questions. Before I could even talk to anyone, a man who looked like he was in charge pulled us aside. Turns out, he was the one who left the envelope. He told us that when Megan and Nathan realized which lab the court was using, they approached him. They asked him to alter the test results to say Johnny wasn't my son. The plan was simple, once I believed Johnny wasn't biologically mine, I'd stop fighting for custody and just walk away. But when I didn't back off and went back for 2 more tests, Megan had him fake those results too. She promised him a share in Nathan's business once the settlement money came through, so he played along. Apparently, he started having second thoughts recently. He stayed in touch with Megan and heard about what happened in court, the lies, the manipulation. And when Megan told him the business deal would be delayed even longer, he decided he'd had enough. So last night, he slipped me the real results. He apologized over and over. Begged me not to expose him. And while part of me wanted to see him pay, I just didn't have the energy to go after him right now. I've been through too much already. If it comes down to it, I'll use the evidence in court. But for now, I had other plans. We headed to court, and before anything started, I pulled Megan aside. She was caught off guard. I told her I had the real test results, that I knew everything. At first, she tried to act like she had no idea what I was talking about, but I wasn't playing games. I told her that paternity fraud is a serious crime, and I was giving her one shot to make this easier. If she agreed to all the original divorce terms and gave up her parental rights, I'd keep this quiet. She agreed to the divorce terms, but pushed back hard on giving up her rights. Said she couldn't abandon her child like that. I told her flat out, no real mother would fake a paternity test to cut a father out of his son's life. After a long, ugly argument, she finally gave in. From there, everything moved fast. We got our divorce settlement. Megan agreed to the terms. And in court, she shocked everyone. After weeks of fighting, she suddenly gave up custody and signed away her parental rights to Johnny. It stunned the courtroom. But I didn't care about her reasons. I had finally won. My lawyer and I parted ways a few hours ago. In a few days, the final paperwork will be drawn up, and this nightmare will officially be over. It'll just be me and Johnny from now on. Honestly, it's already been that way for a while. I'm just grateful it'll finally be official. And best of all, Johnny is happy. So am I. We're just trying to soak it in now. After everything we've been through, we deserve some peace.